Barcelona to sign Man City striker. Alexander-Arnold snubs Real Madrid and stays at Liverpool. Guardiola ready to sign as many as 4 players in January. Chelsea wins the race for Benjamin Šeško. If this video gets 500 thumbs up, it will give us the incentive to continue making more videos. So, let's get started. Gerard Branthwaite, the latest object of desire for Premier League giants, has found himself at the heart of a transfer saga. Manchester United, Liverpool and Manchester City have sparked a genuine hunt for the 22-year-old Everton defender. But can they lure him away? It's far from a rhetorical question. Everton isn't giving up without a fight. The new owner, the Friedkin Group, who recently completed a £500 million takeover, is prepared to fight tooth and nail to keep their talent. After all, losing Branthwaite now wouldn't just be a blow to their ambitions, but potentially a direct ticket to the Championship. Last summer, the Toffees already rejected offers from United totaling up to £50 million. Now, the price tag has soared to an astronomical £80 million. But which of the contenders is ready to cough up that sum in January? 3 main rivals loom on the horizon. The Red Devils, who have already strengthened their defence with Matthijs de Ligt, but are still seeking squad depth. Liverpool, in need of rejuvenating their backline, and City, who are always looking to get ahead of the game. However, considering Everton's financial demands, all 3 could end up empty-handed. Or is this just another game to drive up the stakes? The situation is further complicated by the fact that the player himself still has 2.5 years left on his contract, with a salary of just £35,000 a week. For a lad already being compared to a future England star, that's peanuts. Of course, Everton is desperately trying to convince him to sign a new contract, offering him the world and the status of a key player in their project. But will that be enough to persuade Branthwaite to stay? Or will the prospect of joining a team competing for trophies prove too strong? United seems particularly determined right now. After unsuccessful attempts in the summer, they're ready to lay their cards on the table again. But what will this transfer actually give them? A new star for Amorim? Or simply a way to weaken their rivals? Liverpool, meanwhile, sees Branthwaite as the ideal candidate to rebuild their defence. And Guardiola, as always, is prepared to play the long game, wait until the summer and snatch the player on his own terms. But will City have the patience? Interestingly, the transitional period at Everton itself plays a significant role in this transfer saga. A new stadium, a new hierarchy, new ambitions, and at the same time, the constant threat of relegation. Holding on to a player in such circumstances is an almost impossible task. But what will be the outcome? Will they sell now, risking losing face? Or will they wait until the summer, hoping to get more? Everton boss Sean Dyche describes Branthwaite as an exemplary professional. But what does the player himself think? Will he want to stay and become a symbol of the club's new era, or will he choose the path to glory with one of the top teams? Time will tell how this story unfolds. And in the meantime, what's your opinion? Is it worth it for Everton to hold on to Branthwaite at any cost, or is it better to let him go in January and use the money to strengthen the team elsewhere? Trent Alexander-Arnold at a crossroads. Loyalty to the red flag or the allure of royal temptation? Liverpool has offered their star right back a new 4-year contract, a tempting deal worth €20 million per year. But here's the snag. The player isn't rushing to respond. Why? Because Real Madrid is looming on the horizon. Let's delve deeper. Trent isn't just a defender, he's the embodiment of the new Liverpool, a lad who burst onto the scene in 2016 and has since become a symbol of the Merseyside team's attacking prowess. His assists are no longer mere statistics. They're an art form, an academy graduate, a leader, a club icon. You can't afford to lose a player like that, right? But there's one big but. Liverpool seems to have dragged their feet with the offer. The initial contract proposal was, to put it mildly, underwhelming. The player's reaction? A typical British, thanks, but no thanks. The Reds had to go all in. The second attempt is a much more substantial offer. But will it be enough? Because if the insiders are to be believed, Trent is definitely listening to the whispers coming from Madrid. And this is where the question arises. What exactly is Real Madrid offering? Firstly, status. Being part of Los Blancos is like entering football's pantheon. Secondly, prospects. Trent is being promised the role of Carvajal's successor, which, by the way, is a huge responsibility and an equally significant vote of confidence. And of course, the financial aspect. Madrid is unlikely to be stingy when it comes to a player of this caliber. The situation is made even more delicate by the deadline. Liverpool has set a point of no return. The deal must be concluded by the end of 2024. The decision is understandable, but isn't it a bit too risky? If Trent decides to stall, the Reds will have to choose between the prospect of losing him for free or finding a hasty buyer. How about that for a scenario? We shouldn't forget the sporting side of things either. Trent isn't just a defender, he's the engine of Liverpool's right flank. His interplay with Salah is like a well-oiled machine. Without him, the team's attacking potential could significantly diminish. And what about Arne Slot's philosophy, which clearly relies on the creativity of his right back? And now for a bit of irony. Real Madrid interest in Trent looks like a classic Spanish move. Observe, wait, and strike at the right moment. And Liverpool? They seem to be playing a game of who will blink first. The only question is, will Trent ultimately blink in the direction of the Santiago Bernabeu? Friends, what do you think? Should Trent remain loyal to Liverpool or try his luck as a new star in Madrid? Share your thoughts in the comments, give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on all the hottest football news. The finale of this story, as you can imagine, is yet to come. Erling Haaland to Barcelona. Spanish media insists it's not fantasy, but a real possibility. The Catalans have long had their eye on the Norwegian goal-scoring machine, and now, it seems, they're ready to launch a full-scale offensive. Why? To plug one of the major holes in their squad, the striker position, as they look for a replacement for the aging Robert Lewandowski. Let's break it down. Barcelona is a club driven by ambition. Despite their financial woes, they still managed to find the funds for big-name players. Remember how Laporta pulled off the transfers of Rafinha and Lewandowski in the same year when many had written the club off? So the idea of Haaland isn't a fantasy, it's a logical target, especially considering that, according to rumours, Erling himself isn't entirely happy at Manchester City. Yes, Pep Guardiola's team is winning everything in sight, but their last 11 games have been a disaster. Only one win. How could you not be disappointed? Guardiola, as the media claims, has given the green light for Haaland's departure, but with one condition, not before 2026. It's logical. Pep needs time to find a worthy replacement for the Norwegian, because Erling isn't just a striker, he's an entire philosophy of play. But can Haaland wait that long? Spanish media outlets are convinced that the Norwegian's patience has already run out. He's supposedly tired of Guardiola's methods and wants a change. And here comes Barcelona, with Laporta, who, as we know, is a master of persuasion. But what's truly astonishing is the rumoured transfer fee. Haaland's contract with City runs until 2027, but a release clause comes into effect at the end of this season. And do you know how much this Norwegian locomotive is worth? According to reports, around 200 million euros. A lot, absolutely. But for Barcelona, it's an investment that could restore the club's status as a top contender for the Champions League. Still, the question remains, does Barcelona even need Haaland? Lewandowski is undoubtedly an outstanding forward, but he's already 36. Does he have the stamina to perform at the highest level for an entire season? Hansi Flick clearly has his doubts. On the other hand, Haaland's style isn't exactly what fans are used to seeing at the Camp Nou. Barcelona is about ball control, intricate passing, and elegant football. Erling, on the other hand, is about power, speed, and lethal finishing. Can he adapt to such a system? But let's be honest, if Haaland does decide to join Barcelona, it will be the transfer of the decade. Imagine how European football would change. City would lose one of their biggest stars, and Barca would gain a player capable of turning a game on its head single-handedly. And who knows, maybe this will be the deciding factor in the race for the Ballon d'Or. However, it's not that simple. Barcelona's financial problems are a reality, not a myth. If Laporta decides to invest in Haaland, who will have to make way? Rafinha, De Jong, or maybe Lewandowski himself? There are more questions than answers. But one thing is clear, if this transfer happens, it will be a bolt from the blue. So, what's next? We await further details. Will Barcelona be willing to shell out such a huge sum? Will Haaland agree to wait until 2026? Or will he force a move sooner? Or is this all just a game played by agents to secure better terms for Erling at City? And what do you think? Should Barcelona take such a risk? Chelsea has pulled off a masterstroke, securing Jadon Sancho on a permanent deal. It wasn't long ago that this guy was being written off, his career predicted to be on a downward spiral after a disastrous spell at Manchester United. But, as they say, every cloud has a silver lining. His loan move back to Borussia Dortmund, his old stomping ground, seemed to reboot the winger, and the subsequent transfer to Stamford Bridge has well and truly resurrected his career. And what a sensational impact he's made in the Blues' lineup. 2 goals and 5 assists in 11 games. That's a statement of intent, a declaration that he's vying for a key role. Enzo Maresca seems to have unlocked his potential, and Jadon himself, freed from the shackles of Manchester, has spread his wings. Now he's back to being the Sancho that terrorized Bundesliga defenses, the one that had European giants battling for his signature. £23 million? For a player of his caliber, that's an absolute steal. A bargain. United must be kicking themselves watching their former player tear up the Premier League for a direct rival. Remember the skepticism when Sancho first arrived in London? A risky gamble, they said. The lad's lost his spark, they claimed. He's out of form. A flop. But he's gone and silenced all the critics. And you know what's even more amusing? The deal was practically sealed at the last minute, with the condition that Chelsea wouldn't drop below 15th place. Did anyone doubt it? I certainly didn't. And now, with the Blues hot on Liverpool's heels in the title race, this story takes on a whole new dimension. Maresca has worked a minor miracle. He hasn't just restored Sancho's confidence, he's integrated him into the team so seamlessly that it feels like Jadon's been playing here his whole life. His link-up play with teammates, his vision, his deadly dribbling, it's all there. This isn't the lost and confused youngster who wandered through the fog of Old Trafford. This is a predator, ready to sink his teeth into anyone who stands in his way. And that's damn exciting. Some players seem to be reborn after leaving Manchester United. Is the atmosphere there toxic or something? It's as if they take away a part of a player's talent, forcing them to play in an uncomfortable role. Lukaku and Di Maria immediately come to mind. And Sancho, it seems, fell into the same trap. But now he's free, and he's creating magic. Just a few months ago, things could have turned out very differently. He could have been languishing on the bench, losing faith in himself. But fate is a fickle thing. And here he is, in the heart of London, in a team that believed in him. And he's repaying that faith in kind. To get a 24-year-old player who is at the peak of his powers for a mere £23 million is like stealing candy from a baby. Chelsea's management has pulled off a stroke of genius. There's no arguing with that. And Manchester United? Well, they're left to bite their nails in frustration and remember the old football adage, don't let a player go to a rival unless you want to regret it later. And they are regretting it, I'm sure. But you know what's most interesting? This is just the beginning. Sancho hasn't even reached his full potential yet. He's hungry for victories. He's eager to prove that he was written off too soon. And, damn it, I believe he will. Can Jadon take Chelsea to the next level? Will he start consistently banging in goals? Will he become a long-term leader for the team? What are your thoughts on this? How do you rate Sancho's prospects at Chelsea? Do you agree that Manchester United blundered by letting him go? Share your opinions in the comments. It'll be great to discuss this. Manchester City is poised for a major shake-up in 2025 and has no intention of slowing down, despite experiencing significant turbulence in the current season under Pep Guardiola. A glance at recent results might induce a mild case of football-induced depression in even the most devoted Sky Blues fans. A string of draws and defeats has not only shaken the Citizens' position in the Premier League, but also jeopardized their Champions League campaign. For a club accustomed to setting the pace, this scenario sounds almost apocalyptic. But is the situation truly hopeless? Currently, City is at the mercy of a congested fixture list, where the space for in-depth tactical analysis is practically squeezed to the size of a football boot. The team is forced to shuttle between crucial matches and brief recovery sessions. Add to that a season ticket for injuries to key players, and you have a volatile mix of factors that even the brilliant Guardiola can't always control. Let's face it, when your creative engine, Kevin De Bruyne, is sidelined with an injury, and Ilkay Gundogan and Bernardo Silva need their playing time carefully managed, the midfield starts to show cracks. And the opposition isn't sleeping. They've already sensed the Citizens' weakness and are exploiting it with their counter-attacking play. Facing a crisis of form, Manchester City is frantically exploring options to strengthen the squad in January. Estimates suggest that 2 or even 3, in a best-case scenario, new players could join the team, capable of revitalizing their play. The main focus remains on reinforcing the midfield. Persistent rumors suggest that Newcastle United's Bruno Guimaraes is high on Guardiola's wish list. Of course, prying their star midfielder away from St. James's Park mid-season won't be easy. But as they say, nothing ventured, nothing gained, especially when it comes to coveted transfers. There are other tempting options: Real Sociedad's Martin Zubimendi, Torino's Samuele Ricci, Crystal Palace's Adam Wharton, and Inter Milan's Nicolo Barella. Each possesses a unique skill set. Some excel in their off-the-ball work. Others are adept at snuffing out opposition attacks at their source, and some might be prone to rash tackles but compensate with brilliant passes. This raises the question: can City's management swiftly negotiate deals with these clubs without overpaying, especially considering how readily other teams will try to throw a spanner in the works? Simultaneously, Manchester City is considering a backup option in attack to avoid overburdening Erling Haaland. A loan move for Paris Saint-Germain's Randal Kolo Muani has been mentioned in the corridors of power. Essentially, they need a player for the short term. But it's also a chance to nurture a talented goalscorer who could have a role in the long term. The only question is whether PSG would actually release such an intriguing forward. However, City's management isn't acting impulsively. The club is already planning a major overhaul closer to the summer, when a substantial financial cushion, a veritable golden ticket, will be set aside for acquisitions. Guardiola himself, who enjoys absolute trust from the board of directors, clearly won't be resorting to a grab whoever's available approach. He will build a new core for the team, focusing on the future, not just the immediate season. This is especially pertinent given the rumours of De Bruyne's cautious return to fitness and the Belgians' potential move to MLS side San Diego next summer. Let's be honest, the prospect of parting ways with the iconic maestro is a drama in itself. For now, all discussions are closely tied to the conclusion of the first half of the Premier League season. The immediate challenge is a typically tough away fixture against Aston Villa, where they could either stumble again or regain their winning mentality. The team's psychological state and the course of future events will hinge on this match. After all, football is unpredictable. One good decision and you're on top, one mistake and you're tumbling down. Can City rectify the situation before the transfer window opens? Will the club lose its way while other top teams are also making their moves? I think it will be a close call. Honestly, I have a feeling that the citizens have already picked up their pens to put their signatures on several deals in January, and in the summer, they're in for a major overhaul, perhaps the most significant in Manchester City's modern history. But will the Sky Blues ultimately remain the first violin in English football, or will they yield their place in the orchestra to younger, more dynamic rivals? That's the key question. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Is City destined for a glorious return to winning ways, or is their time irrevocably over? Don't hesitate to speak your mind. While the Blues are active in the transfer market searching for fresh blood, their attention has turned to Benjamin Šeško. The London club has already contacted Leipzig to gauge interest in a potential deal. The ambition at Stamford Bridge isn't just to patch up the squad, but to completely rebuild their attack. And rightly so, they need a focal point. Someone who can not only run but score goals. The names of Isak and Osimhen still flicker on the radar like distant prospects, but the inquiry for Vlahovic is more concrete, even if it's not the most exciting option right now. But Šeško is a different story. The guy has matured and you can feel his readiness for a move to the Premier League. A contract extension until 2029? Poofed! It looks like this season might be his farewell tour with Red Bull. Can you feel that itch for change? That hunger for new challenges? I can. And then there's Leipzig's Champions League elimination. As they say, every cloud has a silver lining. The transfer fee, in theory, should become more reasonable. And that's where Chelsea comes in, with eager eyes and their checkbook ready. But they're not the only ones in the know. Manchester United and Arsenal are also keeping a close eye on this talent. The battle for Šeško promises to be significant, a real transfer derby. This isn't just about strengthening their own squad, but also about throwing a wrench in the works for their direct rivals. Beautiful, damn it. Beyond the hunt for a striker, other changes seem to be brewing at Chelsea. Chilwell and Chukwuemeka might be on their way out. The situation around Carney is particularly intriguing. A talented guy, but apparently he doesn't fit into the current plans. And Mudryk? Oh, that Mudryk. We're waiting for the results of his second doping test. Let's hope the first sample was just an unfortunate food-related misunderstanding. Against the backdrop of all this transfer chaos, you remember Todd Boehly's massive cash injections. It's not like we haven't seen big signings before, but the scale here is something else. Ambitions are high. The goal is to build a team capable of tearing it up on all fronts. And Šeško's potential arrival in this context is like the cherry on top, the final piece of the puzzle. This isn't just a desire to compete, it's a statement of intent for dominance. 10 goals for Leipzig this season. That's exactly what the Blues have been missing up front, a clinical finisher capable of deciding a match with a single touch. Šeško isn't just potential, he's already a finished product, eager to prove himself at the highest level. His readiness for the Premier League, combined with Chelsea's activity in the transfer market, is giving fans a lot of hope. Acquiring Šeško would be a bold statement. They're back. The days of uncertainty seem to be fading away. A new era is dawning, the era of Chelsea, spearheaded by a player like Benjamin Šeško. Chelsea's future is starting to take shape, and damn it, it looks very promising. What happens next? How will this transfer saga unfold? What are your thoughts? Share your opinions in the comments. I'm interested to hear everyone's perspective.